All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Beat Review live stream. Every other Monday here on YouTube on this, same bad time, same bad channel, that entire thing. So we are here and we are here for one single thing only. And that is to listen to beats from the community, from people like you who can send in their beats and we're going to play them, listen to them, give a little bit of feedback and whatnot. So that's what's up. You have had pretty much 24 hours up until now to send in your tracks. And if you haven't, you will still, or you do still have the ability. I just took that one out. That's not the right address. No, that's not what it is. If you want to be featured, if you want your beats to be played in here and want me and the community of great chat people to give some feedback, send your beat as like an attached file, no like weird links or anything, just a normal like WAV or audio or MP3 file to that's not it, to beatreview@accuratebeats.com. I should make one of those again. I think I kind of lost it in both scenes. Yeah, I did. It's not here. Oh, it is. It's right there. My bad. So please send your tracks to beatreview@accuratebeats.com. I've already have a few in the inbox, a few emails that has come in from a few people I know since before, and some new ones too, and it's gonna be cool. I'm playing approximately 2 minutes of the tracks that comes in, so if you send me like a 6 or 8 minute track, I'm unfortunately not gonna be able to play the entire thing. That's not possible, And we have people in the chat room. We have Symphonic Beats. We have Made So Well, Defrente, or Defrente. I don't know. Chris52 is in the house. Keto Beats, Corey Quills, Stormborn. We have HNBK. We have Kane TV, Nate G. I do remember a lot of people from last week and the previous episodes too. So that's cool. And I gotta be honest and say this real quick. I got a little bit of valuable feedback from the last episode we did. Icon74. What up? So I got a little bit of constructive feedback on this concept and this thing, and I'm just gonna follow it. The feedback was pretty much, hey, speed it up a little bit. You're talking for like 15 minutes about a track that we heard for 2 minutes. Everyone doesn't get to be played, and it just takes too much time. And I kind of acknowledge that, That makes sense. So I'm still going to be myself. I'm still going to be like super complicated about everything and just going into details, I'm sure. But I'm going to try to keep it a little bit shorter when it comes to the feedback parts of things, because it makes sense. We want to be able to play as much music as possible and talk about it and whatever. But having a lot of people submitting beats that doesn't get played doesn't feel good, because we also have some people we talk about for like 15, 20 minutes sometimes. So maybe not. We're going to try to speed this up just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. I'm not promising anything too wild, but we're going to try to speed things up just a little bit. So that's what's up. If you want to be a part of this, send beats to beatreview@accuratebeats.com. Anyone is welcome to send in anything. I make the music I make myself, and I am this old school kind of boom bap guy, and I do love beats. But if you're like a folk musician, I don't know, and you made something, you want us to listen to it and have feedback and stuff, feel free to send it in. And if you're in a position where you kind of have been featured a lot before and you don't really know, you don't have to send anything in. We have submissions. We have a few submissions already, and they keep coming in right now. 8:04. That's a minute ago. So yeah, we do have a few beats. And as always, I'm not promising to be able to play everything. it's not going to be possible, and I'm trying to pick beats as randomly as possible in the inbox. Sometimes I'm asking you guys for a number, and we're picking something by random like that. Should it now be yeah, I remade the entire system. The email inbox has been open for 24 hours, so you are welcome to send in your beats right now, or you could have. 24 hours before the stream goes live. I used to do this thing where I had just this window when we started up the show, and that doesn't really work. And last week we did this thing where you had to be here, so I called everyone out, and then they had to make themselves heard in the chat, and then they got played. We're not doing that either. We're just playing in anything that came in on the email. That said, if you are here and you're going to be played, please make yourself known in the chat. Just say something so we know that the producer of the track is actually here. It's more beneficial for you. It's more beneficial for me. It's more beneficial for everyone who's watching and participating in the chat. So that's worth taking into consideration. But as I said, I'm going to try to keep it a little bit shorter, be a little bit more on point, and keeping it a little bit brief when it comes to the feedback section, where I'm just normally just dissecting everything. So this is nice. I mean, Ethan just said hi to Nate, and we have people here. Raw Diggs is in the chat. That's cool. Ethan, Boom Clap, Geno Beats has been shout out, I think. Most Fear just sent in. Cool. So we do have a few tracks coming in. 48. No, that's the wrong email. My bad. Over there. We don't have 48 beats. Not just that. We have about 25 of them at this point. Which means we're going to just dive into it. Start playing one of the tracks and do the entire beat review kind of concept of it. Because that's what we're here for. This is not about me and my beats. This is about you and your beats and the community aspect of it all. So even if you are not a producer yourself, you're just interested in knowing how everything of this kind of stuff works, this is also a good place to just hang out, I'm thinking about this more and more as some sort of radio show. Because, the actual video is not that important. It's all about the music and the feedback from me and from you guys. That's a really important thing. I wouldn't be able to do this myself, just sitting here and just keeping, you guys need to participate and help each other out and give tips and tricks on whatever. So the first beat for today is going to be this one. Comes from Juno. Hello, Accurate. I am Juno, beatmaker from Czech Republic, and there is my beat for you. I made it on iPad. It's fun to make music on this device. Thank you for your work you're doing. Peace. And one of those. A submission from the Czech Republic, huh? Made on an iPad. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Now we need to find VLC. Can't open up VLC. I can. There we are. VLC is open on my computer. That's the media player I'm using to play the tracks. And the file has been downloaded in the downloads folder together with Ozone 12. Now, Juno makes beats from the Czech Republic, made on an iPad. I think that's kind of cool, I don't use my iPad for music making whatsoever. I do use it a lot, but not for music. It is a really competent and cool tool for music making too. Just that I'm too stupid to kind of understand that. And OBS, VLC. Okay, here we are. Ethan didn't really send a message, and that's fine. That would have been nice, wouldn't it? Maybe, but it's not mandatory to say something. Oh, this file is an M4A file, and it's only 31 seconds long. speaking about, making stuff faster, right? Downloads, Juno make beats. It's 1 megabyte. Makes sense. So 30 seconds of music. That's a start. Made on the iPad from the Czech Republic. Let's fucking go! And you couldn't hear that either. I'm sorry about this. The audio went a little bit south, but now we should have... We do. Now we have audio from VLC, so I'm gonna shut the fuck up and we're gonna listen to Juno. And that's it. We heard the main part twice because, 30 seconds. Let's do that. I think that's a better mic volume. Cool. So the fact that that one was made on the iPad doesn't really matter that much, but you couldn't tell, and you shouldn't be able to because it's just a tool for sequencing stuff. And this was cool to me. My first thought here is like, why is this one 30 seconds long? This one could have been 2 minutes or even more. You could drag things out. The intro could be more extended, and then we could have like the first main loop that could play for like 8 times over before introducing the next layer, because you do have a lot of cool stuff going on here. We have the drums, the piano, the bass, some strings. There are layers to it, for sure. It's a guitar, I guess. I mean, since you have that counter melody on top with the piano, that could be introduced way later on. But as a general idea of a track, I think this is pretty cool. What stands out to me here, that's kind of a creative and fun choice you did, was the sound of the bass line. On something like this, you could go for an acoustic kind of sounding bass or a really subby one. You chose this synthy kind of wow, 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 wow bass, which really added to it, I think. That added just the right amount of flavor. Just a bunch of instruments and some drums and a bass line that's really subby. That's one thing. That's cool. Nothing against that. What you did here was a little bit out of the box, and I think that's cool. And the bass line really works, even though I'm sure some people are going to hate it because people have opinions. Sure, I mean, if someone played that on a bass, I guess they would try to add like a wah-wah pedal or something. This is not bad. To me, this is more, as someone said, Storm Beyondborn, who is the maker of this one, I think. No, not. That's not you that made this one, my bad. Cool proof of concept. Definitely a lot of interesting directions it can go in. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. This one could be extended for, 2.5, 3 minutes long, and it would still be really interesting. The entire string section could come in way later on. So let's not think too much about the arrangement here, but just the actual quality of the track that we heard. What I think could be improved in the loop that we heard is just straight up the programming of the hi-hat. Because right now it feels like it's really stiff. It doesn't have a lot of life in it. And you don't always need to add a lot of stuff. But sometimes it could make sense to just do some small variations on, the pitch, the volume, the timing or something on the hi-hat. But whatever. This was a cool little thing. 30 seconds long. And I said that I'm not going to drag out and make these things way too extended. Atamono says the guitar could be sampled. Huh. Maybe it could. This nice, beautiful, kind of soft, but still kind of emotional, minor progression. It makes sense. It feels like a song and a beat at once. And you showed a lot of skills here by using a lot of different layers to stack it up and make it more than just a Master Scratch. You can definitely send in a beat right now. The email is up there. Send it in and you have a chance to be featured. I'm getting a lot of beats, so I'm not going to be able to play everything, but I'm moving faster today than normally. So we're going to leave this one right now. Juno from the Czech Republic. We're going to leave this one and move into the next track. Trying to keep things a little bit more speedy. People in the chat room seem to agree. It's nice and chill. The guitar could be sampled. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, I know. Let's go. Trying to get used to doing this faster than normal will be a challenge, but I'm doing my best. Trust me, guys. Let's go to this one, AB. Hi, I have attached a beat I made a couple of days ago. It contains drums, samples, and some chords I played on top throughout the beat. Let me know what you think. Thank you. This is sent in from AB and Geno Beats, it seems like. Geno. Genu. So Geno. And I completely lost the file. There we are. Geno Beats. Let's go. that's a cool one for sure. I mean, I gotta be honest, the intro made me think like, hey, is it gonna continue like this? Is it gonna be this like lo-fi and nothing really starts up? And then big drums, you drop this really loud bass and it just became really fat and cool. This is cool stuff. I'm gonna try to be quicker, as I said, but I'm not gonna say that for every track. Whatever. I think this is really cool. There is something strange going on with the mixing, the way I hear it, at least with my headphones right here. Everything feels a little bit too saturated or too limited, too compressed, maybe. That entire piano, bring, 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 bring. It's nice. It becomes a little bit harsh over time because it stands out and it's kind of repetitive. Hiding that a little bit behind the other stuff somewhere in the track would make sense to get a little bit more dynamics in the arrangement, because it just sticks out a little bit. I don't have anything against that, but in the long run it becomes a little bit tiring. But it's cool. Someone says that it's cool, dark, and gritty, and I couldn't agree more. And the really slow, like rising string chords, I guess, they make a lot of sense here. They're doing a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to like creating the atmosphere and the tension and the emotion. The piano melody is cool as it is, but together with that string sound that we paid attention to the most at first, made the entire thing so more dynamic and so cool. And of course, we gotta talk about the organ. This is what I'm talking about. In this section right here, I want to be able to like focus my listening experience on the organ, because that's cool. I'm not saying that you need to take out the piano here, but just put a filter on it in this section, or just take it down in volume or something to kind of guide the listener to pay attention to one certain thing at a time, But the organ sounds really good. I would have gone up a few notes in the melody too. But that's me. And some lo-fi effects and some filters and some crackle and stuff. That's a little bit of flavor. That's just good. DK needs this preset. I thought the melody was fine. Me too. I like the melody. It just takes a little bit too much space in the entire scheme of things, especially when this organ comes in to just take the main part of it. Yeah, just a few decibels lower. Just take down the piano a little bit in that section. The vintage organ from Native Instruments is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, organ sounds. Arturia has a few ones. Logic's built-in one is actually kind of good. And of course, Native Instruments has a bunch of them. Like organ sounds is something that a lot of manufacturers do kind of well. So this was a submission from Geno Beats. Drums, sample, and some chords. I think it's more than that. I think you kind of undersold it, because the strings, the organ, a solid beat. But again, something about the mixing that's a little bit whatever. And again, with the piano. But, we've already said that, so that makes sense. Cool. Let's mark that one as played too. So let's give the stage to Defe. I don't know why it becomes Defe. That could be different. I don't know. It looks like this message is in Portuguese. Translate. Here, okay, that's the text. Here's my beat. Hope you dig it. Big up. Hope you like it. Big up. Now, this is some kind of file transfer service in Portuguese. I should not be using this one, but I am. I trust my viewers. You guys aren't assholes that tries to do something with my internet, whatever. So the file ended up there. Let's open it up in VLC. Okay. And the file name is Differente MPC 93 98 BPM. So this might be a fast one. Let's go. Damn, that's cool. And it's also kind of wild how we go from one kind of genre of beats straight into another one. You know, 98 BPM and this kind of energy is definitely different from the last track we heard. So we gotta adapt. We gotta adapt. We gotta get used to it. This track to me is, you know, I'm trying myself to make beats in a lower BPM. Get a little bit more vibes and feeling and slow, like relaxing kind of stuff. This is the opposite of that. 98 and like don 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 don. That's cool. I don't hate it. I like stuff like this a lot. You know, imagining like aggressive rappers on stage on a track like this. MOP back in the days or whatever. It's definitely out of key. But I like it in this case. It says P.O. Boy Fresh. Sure. I mean, the pitch is a little bit up and down here. It's a little bit wherever it wants to be. But the basic idea here is like the hard chops, the boom, boom, the horn stabs. And then there's at the looping point. So there's not a lot of notes, if you think about it from a musical perspective. And I think that makes it kind of okay. That it's not completely on pitch. It's obvious right there when you have the smaller stabs in between, they're not in the right pitch. And, you know, I want to be a little bit critical of things. I think for a production like this one, for a track like this one, you want to do something even more obvious with the bass line. for me and my specific musical taste. If you want this to be like super aggressive and have a lot of attack to it, I think you need to, I don't think you need to, but I think it could be worth giving it a try to at least put the main bass notes front and center on beat. Not trying to like build the whole bass line out of it. The bass line in this case could be like doom, 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 doom. You know, and just looping like that. So maybe I think the bass line here is it's good, but it could fit to the vibe a little bit better if you just listen to it. And I rewind it to hold on. And the bass could take a little bit more space in the mix and be more upfront to give a little bit of that depth to the entire thing. Now we have this entire conversation about BPM in the chat room. You know, I'm working on this thing right now where I'm trying to make beats between like 72 and 84, just to really slow things down and find a new kind of sound or whatever. And it's cool. But this is also, I mean, I'm fired up just from listening to this. And again, with the mixing and like the balance between how much of the different frequencies comes out in the different places, I think the snare drum here deserves even more sharpness, even more treble, to be a little bit even more like cutting through the mix. Maybe that's a case of the compression and the limiting, like the mastering process. Maybe not. I just think a track like this could deserve to have a snare that's like psh, those frequencies up there. A snare drum in cases like this should have more bass than you think, and it does, but you could also brighten it up just a little bit. Just a little bit. Hi-hat, not a fan. I think the hi-hat does its job here. In this kind of genre for me, you don't need to go like all crazy with velocity layers of hi-hats. The hi-hat could just be straightforward. Ta, 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 ta. It's that quick, it's that aggressive. I was looking for that. That's really funny too. To just drop everything and do this weird little section of the brass sample. It feels totally out of character, out of context, just to drop the entire thing back. You know, making a drop doesn't need to be that complicated. Could just be this. Cool. Feels like, you know, old school MOP, kind of like that, but a little bit less angry, I guess. James Rockwell, this super chat, $5 super chat. I do appreciate that. This super chat is my punishment for being so late. You're like 35 minutes late, man. That's fine. It almost has a premiere vibe to it. Yeah, almost. And that's why I'm pointing out this thing that I'm feeling about the bass line. It should be even more obviously a part of the drum section. The rhythm section needs the bass to be a part of it, like that. In this case, the bass line is a little bit too low in volume, and you could have a little bit more like overtones or harmonics or whatever to make it pop. That's what Premiere does too. But yeah, I do appreciate this one. And the email was in Portuguese. This feels like a Puerto Rican type of beat. That's cool. Thanks a lot for sending this one in. Di Frente. We need some stuff that's like old school hardcore boom bap, high speed, high energy stuff too. We need a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Now we have a submission from on. Okay, that one again. Let's just say Arnie. Splinatra. I guess that's the name of the producer. Splinatra. My mic is still on. Yeah, it is. Just making sure. Just making sure. We need to read that email too. And we're going to get to that. I'm just going to... Boom. Hey, love the chill and cozy vibe of your YouTube show. Thank you. I'm a beatmaker from Norway. Started making beats in October last year. I make beats using the killer combo of MPC-1 and SP404 Mark II. Oh, my name is kind of a joke name, but it's Bias and not Bias. Bias means poop in Swedish and Norwegian, I guess. Bias is like busig in Swedish, which is busig. I can't translate busig. Whatever. That's his name, Bias. And it also says Splinatra. I don't know what's what. He said that his name is Bias, so it's going to be Bias. B-A-J-A-S, by the way, not Bias. Let's listen to a beat from Norway on the MPC and the SP404. One, two. Hey. It's been way more than 2 minutes, so let's cut it right there. Splinatra is obviously in the chat room, and you know, having a beat like this one, with this really lo-fi, kind of beautiful, nice and simple vibe, is really cool. And I said simple, which is not the right word for this, because it sounds kind of simple, but working with a piano, a jazz piano sample like that, and using so much of the sample, and still having it making sense in this context, is an art form, for sure. It's not something you do like in 5 minutes, just chopping it up and just by luck, just hitting the different slice points. No, this has been thought through, and this is cool. It's a little bit minimalistic because of the lack of like other layers and stuff, but sometimes you just don't need much more. I didn't really notice much of a bass line. Is that because I'm stupid? So yeah, there's, I mean, it's not like there's not a bass line. Oh shit, my volume. Like that. But building a bridge like that with that type of piano on the drums and everything, impressive work. Impressive work for real. Splinatra in the chat room is saying that it's kind of low. It's all sub and pretty quiet. Yeah. I picked up that there was like low frequency information there, but like it's hard to like distinguish the notes and find like what the bass line is actually doing. So yeah, Nate G has an idea to add some saturation on it. Sure. Saturation, overdrive, something like that. Something to just give it a little bit more harmony or whatever that's called. Or just crank the volume of it, because there's a lot of space in there. When you have the drums and you have the piano, so you have a lot of space to just add a bunch of low frequencies in a louder volume. And it's always difficult to find the balance of how much bass do I want and how like soft do I want it to be. I get that you're not going for this super high produced like aggressive sound here. You want it to be like laid back and chill, but still a little bit more of that bass line would be cool to me. But the vibe, I mean, the emotions, the moodiness, the vibe. Sometimes, you know, you have like these like 101 kind of lo-fi beats that just feels like, yeah, it's straight up background music, just elevated music that no one cares about. This is not that. This is more complicated and more, it's more than that. And of course, I forgot, there's something with my volume. Hold on. Is that better? Yeah, I think that's better. Of course, the vocal chops in here also adds a bunch of flavor to it. It makes it feel like a sample-based beat instead of just someone playing a piano stuff on a drum loop. So the vocal chops in there being cut off as they are, it's definitely a thing in this genre, and I think it's good. You did it in a great way. I don't have a lot of bad stuff to say about this. I just want more of the bass line, you know. But that's a nice track for sure. Lo-fi and beautiful and just cool. Yeah, increasing the bass line might mess up the vibe. So I'm not sure. I'm not saying that that's what you have to do. I'm saying that I, as a listener, would be intrigued to hear a version with more bass. You know? You know. I think you know. So thanks a lot for this one. Made on the MPC and the SP404 from a guy in Norway. Splinatra. Cool. Thanks a lot. And you have been featured before, and I really appreciate you being a part of this. Having that kind of genre represented is so valuable and cool. Thank you. Now we need to refresh again because they're coming in beats by the minute. 2 minutes ago, but you know. And we have more beats. We have Vincent. Yo, thanks for your work. Here's a beat I've just made. I hope you will appreciate. Vincent. Cool. Let's load this one up too. I could just let it play, but I didn't. I don't know. Let's go. Yeah, as someone pointed out in the chat, this was a more quiet mix for sure. Let's see if I can crank it and just if that makes a lot of difference. Well, a little bit. Right, Symphonic Beats became a member on the channel. And that doesn't mean much right now, but I really do appreciate that support. And we have a few people who's members. You know, you can like do some stuff and get some more emojis and stuff in the chat. And I love it. Thanks a lot, Symphonic. That's cool. So yeah, even though I try to crank the volume of this beat as much as I can, it's a quiet kind of mix. It's not very loud. And I think that's a little bit unfortunate because this is definitely a cool track. And I mean, this could just be a case of mixing and mastering, or the lack of mixing and mastering, because if everything in this track just took one step forward and just took a little bit more space and became a little bit more clearer in the mix, this would be really, really cool. Some things gets lost in translation here because, okay, now we're having a lot of emotions, emoticons, emojis, smiley faces, whatever things are called in the chat. That's cool. You know, when you apply like a brick wall limiter or a compressor or just doing some final EQ shenanigans on the mix, things could go in a much better way, in lack of better words. So I think that's what's happening here. It's not as punchy as it kind of needs to be able to like translate properly, but everything that's going on here is dope stuff. The different chops and the different layers of stuff, you know, there's a lot of work behind this. So it's a little bit unfortunate that it doesn't come through as it should. Because I think the way you listen to this when you make it in headphones or your speakers or whatever, it sounds way better than what we're listening to here. I mean, the horn hit and the guitar, like, oof, this is good stuff. And a bunch of layers really feels like a well chopped up sample, or a couple of them, I guess. But there's something about the mix. Yeah, Tamashi says, why is no one liking the stream? Yeah, you could always click the like button. I think that's one of those things that helps with the algorithm and whatever. It's a nice freaking vibe of this track. 100%. One of the better ones. And it's all a matter of punchiness, volume, and balancing the EQ, giving the frequencies the space that it deserves and needs to be. So in this case, it's hard to it's a little bit hard to hear and appreciate everything you did. I do notice it, but if it just, we want some more high frequencies in there, a little bit more crispiness, a little bit more dynamics of everything, it feels a little bit muddy and dark, and I think that's just the lack of mastering. And really cool ways of using reverb too. I mean, this is really good. It is. And Adamonos, I can't give it any more gain. I'm sorry, it's completely maxed out. Above the 100 point in VLC. And I'm not going to do more than that because things could easily get out of hand. But it's a nice track, and I really appreciate you sending this one in. This one came from Vincent, a French beatmaker. Okay, cool. This is really good, really good. You definitely know what you're doing, but there's something with the finalizing mix of this audio file that's not there. I think you know what I'm talking about. But it's good. When it comes to the actual production state of this, you know what you're doing. This is good stuff. I forgot in my last email. My name is... okay, I'm gonna have to put that in the chat. I don't know how to say that. In the chat room is the name of this producer. Go check him out. The name is Dubitatif? Dubitatif? Yeah, something like that. So that's him. That's good. Vincent, thanks a lot for sending it in. Maybe I shouldn't say your real name because you have an artist name. Sorry about that. I'm an asshole. That's just what it is. Refreshing again, and we have even more beats, which is beautiful. Now we have a track from Krister Hoff. Hello, fellow beatmakers. This is a beat where I go back to basics. Chopped, sampled, filtered bass line, and some dope drums. Also added an a cappella from Freddie Gibbs, made using Logic Pro and some extent Koala. I hope you like it. Peace, Hoffa. So this is from Hoff Beats, right? Who has been featured before. And it's time to listen to his latest one. With an a cappella. Let's go.
So the quality of your production is so doggone vital.
It's just high quality stuff, you know. That wasn't me. My microphone was muted. He sampled me in the track. Let's listen again. I'm gonna mute my mic again, so it's not me speaking. It's the track.
So the quality of your production is so doggone vital.
It's just high quality stuff, you know.
Yeah. Check. Yeah, I'm gonna go all the way through and shit. Check. You know I'm one of the best guys ever. Do that shit, you feel me? Smoking ops, walk down the block. I put that bitch in shot. Wipe his nose, tag on the toes. I just knocked off his sock. 100 shots, came right back at us. Same day, ain't nothing drop. Seen your shooter back till you shot. Tell them you fucking flop. Just say my name, Mr. Insane. Crack on my razor blade. Break it to the left, put the gang on my chest. That's cradle to the grave. Took it to the west, had my own cash on deck. Put a bad bitch on the plane. Soon as we landed, we shot for that fitty. This mafia shit, boy, you don't understand me. I tried it though. Try to pull nigga back, but that life I left. REVs and I7s turn my garage electric. I said, bitch, open your heart or you might just block your blessing. She sucked my dick out the church and these lemon pepper steps. Smoking dope, fresh off the boat. She said I throat the dope. I gave all my side hoes a rope. Climb up a fucking choke, turn niggas ghost. I inhale all the smoke, make promoters cancel the show. 50 guns at the door, so say my name, Mr. Insane. Blood on my razor blade. Nigga should've jacked me and whacked me with sad, and now I feel no fucking pain. Being too extra, you need extra people. Your pockets ain't ready for what I can peep with. This rabbit the reaper, I seen out them creepers. You niggas is nervous, it won't be no sleeping. Y'all tried it though. Try to break nigga down, try to block my blessing. REVs and I sevens, turn my garage electric. Too cheap to cop a Bugatti, too gangster for a Tesla. She sucked my dick at the church and these lemon pepper steppers.
Okay, cool. I mean, everyone in the chat room is saying the same thing, and I couldn't agree more. What was I saying in the intro here? He sampled me, which is definitely bonus points for Hoff, 100%. I said high quality stuff, I think, and I'm just going to have to repeat myself. High quality stuff. I mean, for real. For real. This is not like, yeah, you've made beats for a couple of years. This is someone who knows what they're doing. Really good stuff. And I like the fact that we had a little bit of the instrumental here after the verses and stuff. Without the vocal, but still. Slapping an entire a cappella on a thing, you know, I have feelings about that sometimes. In this case, Freddie Gibbs on this beat, chef's kiss. Just really good stuff. Everything about this production was pretty much dead on solid in my book. Now I think I got a burp. Yeah, having a mute thing is not bad. But I mean, come on. When it comes to the sample, I know you have this counter melody later on, but the sample itself is chopped up in a way that's not too complicated. But it definitely has a cool vibe to it. And then we have this vocal sample that just adds everything. This is good. I mean, the vibe of it, the double tempo thing that you're getting from the rapper also plays its part. But the track itself...
I want it to be good for you preachers that said God.
Beautiful sound selection across the board. I love the kick, love the snare, like what you did with the hi-hats, the sample, the vocal, shit. Sure, what can I say, man? It's just awesome to be able to have people like this in the community submitting beats. Sometimes we just need stuff that's straight up, just a thumbs up, moving on to the next one. So we're going to give this one a thumbs up and move on to the next one. Christer Hoff is in the chat room and says, thank you. So cool. And that you used my voice in there, I'm not mad about that. I think that's cool. Definitely. Christer, you're in Sweden, right? I think you are. Get in touch, man. That's cool. That's really cool. But I think, you know, we can just appreciate that one and let it go. Mark as played and move on to Nate G. You are in the chat. Not sure if I should have a vocalist. It's in an odd meter, so maybe hard to find the cadence. Okay, a beat in an odd meter. That's always interesting. And vocalist, I don't know. I feel vocalists in general are overrated. We can make instrumental music. Let's listen to Nate G. do that. Nice. I mean, I'm obviously listening to headphones right now, or listening on headphones, and there's too much stuff going on in the lower frequencies for me to be able to appreciate and pick up on everything. I'm just gonna say that because I know this track has a lot of stuff in the low end, and everything doesn't really translate in this kind of situation and environment. But this is cool. The amount of musicality that went into this, a thing that I think could be a little bit unfortunate is that it pretty much needs a producer or some kind of musician of some sort to appreciate what's happening here. A normal, like, casual listener might not pick up on all the details that's going on with the different meters, as you call it. We're not going to get into talking about meters and 3/4 and 4/4 and 6/5 and whatever. I'm too stupid for that stuff. But this track is really, really cool. Someone in the chat suggested like The Weeknd on this one. I mean, just because it's beats, it doesn't always need to be rappers. Having someone singing on this could be really cool, but I could always also see someone like Black Thought or someone like that with that type of voice and that type of tonality work really well on something like this. Black Thought with a track that's like storytelling driven, whatever, kind of dark, but you know, whew, could be dope. Could be dope. And you know, the layers of voices and chorus and strings and everything, that's just nice. What could be improved? What could be improved? Honestly, not much. The only thing I'm thinking, just because we have that much variation and that much stuff going on, maybe somewhere adding like a pure, clean, kind of loud melody thing, like a whole Mos Def could also be an option, 100%. Rascast for sure, yeah. If you wanted to add something here, my suggestion is, you know, a distorted synth or like an electric guitar or something that plays pretty much a solo on top of the thing. An instrumental section with just a melody on top of it. This one has a lot of melody elements inside of it, but there's not a clear like solo melody line. That could be cool. Could be cool. Could also be bad. I don't know. Sometimes I'm talking out of my ass, so I don't know everything. But that's the only thing I could think of that could take this one to not even another level, you know. I don't know. Could just add something, for better or worse. Rascast and Mos Def, those are rappers. If you don't know, check out Mos Def. Definitely Black on Both Sides, the old album. That's just, or Black Star with him and Talib. And I mean, the kick drum here doesn't have a lot of low end, and I don't think it needs to have a lot of low end in this case because there's so much stuff going on down there. Like a B section or a bridge, yeah. Should the harmonic progressions change? I don't think it needs to, man. I don't think it needs to. You have so many layers and so many things going on, so I don't think you have to. What I'm talking about is like using one of the loops as it is, adding like a high-pitched kind of melody. Like a line, not like a repeating melody, but just a solo, a melody line. I don't know. Also, some of my ideas are bad. So, Nate G, representing the darkness. That's cool. Love it. Another dope track, for sure. So, Let's pick another one. Just a quick question, first of all. I am moving faster than normally, right? We have played more music at this point than we used to. And I think that's good. What do you think? Am I too stressed out? Am I moving too quickly? I don't think so. We have a track from Silvin. This is my analog simulation just using free VSTs. What do you think of it? Cheers. Silvin. This is my analog simulation using just free VSTs. That's cool. That's something I haven't done myself in a while. Just checking out what's out there when it comes to free plugins. But in this case, let's have a listen. Okay, so the track here is called Sampled Contest 28th of February. So I guess this is a submission for a contest of some sort. It's 30 seconds long. Let's play the entire thing again. I need to focus. So I have a little bit of a hard time understanding what this is. How much of this is made? I mean, is it a sample that you flipped into this for a competition, or did you make this as a sample? I don't know. Still, beautiful stuff. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. I love everything about the vibe here. All the grittiness and all the different. It's awesome. Master Scratch says, I was expecting it to drop some train-like drums. Never came in. 30 seconds and it's just a beautiful kind of chord progression, this snare hit. Minimalistic, but really, really beautiful. I mean, the only word I have for this is beautiful, because it's just beautiful. This is... I mean, for like a movie or something, this would be so freaking good. Silvin says, thank you. It was a long sample. Okay, so from the sample you took a few parts and you made this. So this is your beat of it. Cool. Not to like be, not to be disrespectful, but there's not a lot of stuff going on. It's minimalistic and it's cool. And it's beautiful for what it is. Could you increase the tempo? Could you add more drums? Yeah. Would that be better? I don't think so. This is perfect as it is. And the bass works so well together with it. The drums are almost not there. No, it's not a lot. I'm sorry that I don't have the entire song on my phone. That's fine. This is something. This is just listening to this is beautiful in itself. And great work. This was just great stuff. Really, really good. Would I love to hear a more like produced version of it? Maybe, but not necessarily. This was beautiful as it was. So let's see here. We have too many emails to go through to make this make sense. But we have, let's see. We have a track from someone I can't recognize. Ashen Barky. Hey, Accurate, first time submitting, long time viewer. Drum break, samples and such. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. / Ash and Barky. Okay, so let's download. As always. And like that. Me and my Windows, right? Ashen Barky. The track seems to be called Toothache. First time submission from Jesus Christ. There we are. That's the Windows. Ashen Barky. Let's go.
All right, what's on your mind, Sergeant? My business is with Rollins. He's coming uptown with me. Right now? Yeah, right now. You can't. You got a big one ready to go down. I don't care what's going down. Now you get me your lieutenant. That's an order.
That's cool. That's 2.5 minutes, but stuff was going on. So yeah, I don't know what to say about this one. A lot of stuff going on again. And like a classic kind of drum break over the entire thing. I found the drums here. Okay, I don't know. Are the drums 100% played? I need to know. I don't know. High and mighty vibes. I don't. I mean, again, we have another track with a lot of layers going on, like the whole choir kind of thing, together with the really heavy bass line, stuff. I have a little bit of a problem with one thing here, though. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. we're nitpicking because, again, the level is pretty high.
All right, what's that?
I don't know what it was. We have the section with a vocal thing, and then right, the flute.
Sound like right now.
I mean, it works, but the flute is definitely a little bit pitchy, and I guess it's. I guess that's fine. Everything doesn't need to be perfectly in tune, and it's not a huge part of the track. It's cool. It's cool. Using a drum break like that is something I don't do a lot myself, and I think it's cool whenever people do and get it to sound like in a cool way. But you know, as we talk about sometimes, the main character here feels like the bass line. It's a little bit repetitive, but yeah. Splinatra loves the flute. And me too. I like the flute, but it feels like it needs to be pitched a little bit, or maybe it's just the drums could be more up front. Maybe they could. Yeah, the drums could be pushed up a little bit, but I don't know if it's necessary. And that kind of arpeggio thing. I mean, a lot of stuff going on. We're definitely working on or listening to music on a pretty high level here. The mix sounds fine to me. I don't have much to say. I don't love the organ in the background, but yeah, that's just me. Cool. So that one came from, let's see again. No, that's not the right way. From Ashen Barky. Ashen Barky, I don't know. But it's always cool to have like submissions from people who hasn't been featured before. So nice. And it's a good track. I'm not saying anything else. I like that. And as I keep saying sometimes on these streams, I would kind of love to be getting more into making that kind of music myself, because my stuff is not like this. Impressive. Cool. You guys are cool. Let's move on. A submission from okay, now I misclicked. That's an ad. My bad. And also the one from the last one needs to be marked as played, because now it's getting into the thing. Okay, cool. So we have a track from the Christian Magnusson. Oh, my bad. That's not it at all. It's not a Christian. Tor Christian. Lax22, who was in the chat earlier tonight. I don't know if you're still here. Hey, Lax22 here. Sending you a bit more typical SP404 beat this time. Little less chilled as my other submissions, but not exactly a stressful track. I layered up the different chops on the SP, tried to add the same drum pattern, percussives and effects on each pad while I go, sometimes with variation. This track only has 2 varied loops, all resampling, no master. Okay, Lax22, let's get you into my media player and let's listen to Lax22 right now. Yeah, I think a lot of us recognizes that kind of stuttery effect from the SP404. It's not bad. It's not bad. The vibe I'm getting here is just, again, really laid back and relaxed and beautiful and cool. The Rhodes sample here, great work. Just really, really great stuff. It's a cool beat for sure. It's a little bit more, it's not as relaxed as your previous submissions. Sure, but it's still not like high energy, as you said. And you know, sometimes we talk about stuff being muddy and not like crispy enough. In this case, to me, this kind of underwatery kind of feeling just works with the overall like aesthetics of the track. To me, this is just well put together, beautiful stuff with a nice vibe. Sure, since the progression of the thing is like from one to the next to the first, if you want to be really harsh about it, it could be a little bit repetitive. Maybe. In this genre, I think that's more of an aesthetic choice to do than just, hey, you need to make a proper B section, you know? And the snare feels like a live snare pretty much, and the hi-hats. You know, the drum programming on this one is perfectly on point to me. It's off and a little bit wonky without being like too much, hey, I read that book about J Dilla and I just did that to my drums. This feels more unique and more your own thing than anything else. There is swing and there's some weirdness going on with the drum programming in the best way possible. And the bass line works so well with the chords. Yeah. Lax 22 with some good stuff right there. Great work, man. Really good stuff. Made on the SP404, and you know, with those stuttery effects, we all know it's an SP404, and it's okay. Just don't overdo it, and you didn't. That's a nice one for sure. Thank you, Lax 22. Maybe it's LAX 22. I don't know. Okay, we are closing in on 1.5 hours, and I've said we're going to do 2 hours. Vincent France tries to send a second beat. Well, that doesn't work. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. But let's move along in the email. In the list of emails. Let's see here. September 21st. And that's from a brand. Okay, so we are there. Let's take this one. Symphonic Beats. One of my latest members, if I'm not misremembering from the chat. Symphonic Beats. Hello, Accurate. I built the beat around vocals and figured I'd submit the beat with them still in there, since the variations are a bit more subtle here. Looking forward to your feedback. Symphonic. Did I read this right? I built the beat around vocals and figured I'd submit the beat with them still in. Okay, so we have vocals in here. Symphonic Beats, the track is called Pain of Life. That's dark. But let's go.
It's a Queens thing. 2-5, word up. Thug paradise. Check it out. Yeah. Convicts living on the edge of life. Criminal type thugs who love to pull the heights. Remove shites living in these days of tripe. Rockin' 4-carat ice. In Thug paradise. Thug paradise. Yeah. TVs in the headrest, Sega Entertainment. Push the Lex land on the way to my arraignment. DA got a witness, lawyer can't explain it. Face the judge on some money maintain shit. Black Caesar, 100 grand on the visa. Took the stand, suddenly caught amnesia. Found him in the warehouse, tied in the freezer. That's the life of a thug when he hold heaters. Willies, up north turn to dick beaters. Sending flicks to any bitch that'll feed us. 360 waves with the shell top Adidas. The Black Jesus, Lebanon, remain calm. Rockin' stay green, sippin' on Dawn. Arabic link, Cartier on the arm. Nigga fresh off work release. Hercules, nigga fuck the D's. We blazing trees, Capone bag the keys. Let's move like a gypsy. It's hot out here, relocate to Poughkeepsie. Feds play the roof in the hood tryna hit me. Snakes on the block wanna sip more with me. The life of a thug wasn't made right. When I die, leave a bottle of Dawn by the gravesite. The tombstone let the record show I was in it. Lay me in the earth with the almighty linen. Convicts living on the edge of life. Criminal type thugs who love to pull the heights. Remove shites living in these days of tripe. Rockin' 4-carat ice. In Thug paradise. Thug paradise. Yeah. Thug paradise.
It's like a never-ending story. Who fell or who rise? Or that cat who got trapped, seeing federal size. You're that gun happy.
So for real, who's the rapper? The rappers here. Someone said Nas, and it sounded a bit like Nas, but it wasn't. It sounded like Mobb Deep, but it wasn't. What's this? I'm just not educated enough. I don't know what this is. But the track and the production here is totally on point. You know, classic hip-hop, like late 90s, early 2000s. The vocals here plays a big part, of course, but the beat itself fits this vibe so well. Carbonated beverages everywhere. The acapella fits like a glove. Yeah, for sure. Did someone say who this is? Capone and Noriega. Okay. Are we sure about that? Could be. I mean, one thing that I want to mention with this beat in particular is how you worked with the bass line. Beautiful, beautiful work. Not too loud, not too quiet, not too much in your face, not too much in the back. It's just perfectly balanced in there, and it plays so well together with the strings and everything in the sound.
Kid who went wall bound, catching bodies. Free still remain unfound, battleground. UU desert, Kuwait banger. Down to our back, on back, create danger. Who shot who?
Ah, that's what the producer said. Cool. I kind of missed it. Symphonic. Is the chat just moving along? I don't know. But if he said it, it's about to be right, you know. Good stuff. The drums and the bass line together with the strings, so good. And this is one of those beats. I think if you would have submitted this beat without the vocals, I would have said something like, yeah, it's repetitive and whatever. And that makes sense for an instrumental because it's kind of loop-based. But for a rap song, for a remix, it's kind of supposed to be like that. I need to acknowledge that sometimes a bit more, because repetitive beats aren't the end of the world. If you want to release them as instrumentals, we have had a few beats now that are apparently, like obviously meant as instrumentals. This one is a rapper's beat.
Who got hit? Who got shit? Locked on the other side of town. Who got brick shit?
But also, you did something, you know, there's vinyl crackle in there from the sample, or maybe added with like RC20 or something, as someone pointed out. And it's maybe a little bit too much. You know, the vinyl crackle just, it's too loud in some places. So yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 beats so far, so we're not moving as quickly as I thought. Strange. Am I not moving quicker than usual? Am I not? Feels like we should have played more music at this point, but whatever. Symphonic Beats, great work. I mean, a proper rapper beat for sure. Good work, hands down. I do appreciate you being a part of this, and thanks a lot for becoming a member too, of course. Now we have a track from Boom Clap. B-O-U-M-C-L-A-P. B-O-U-M-C-L-A-P. So boom clap, boom clap. I guess. Hey, hi. Here's a beat I'm working on. I made it with the Roland P6 and worked it up in Bitwig for the keys and the mix. It's called Fading Away. This is my 4th submission, but each time I was cut because you got too much success. Have you submitted 4 times and this is the first time we play you? For real? This is my 4th submission, but each time I was cut because you got too much success. I hope this time you'll be able to check it. Yes, we are. It's your turn. Cheers from France. So another French producer. Boom Clap. With a FLAC file. Yeah, we don't see that every day. FLAC. But here we go. Boom Clap. Let's have a listen. Nice. That's good stuff. You know, a little bit of Dilla-esque drum programming, a little bit of D'Angelo kind of chords, a big kind of loud vocal thing going, This is nice. Vibes for days. Vibes for days. This is, I mean, I know it's a thing. It's a personal preference kind of thing. But the snare drum in this one, and it's alternating between one that's more and one that's more awesome. Yeah, like this a lot. And what's really cool, as producers, we need to acknowledge these kinds of things. Everything that's going on in the roads between the chords, I think it's over here. guess that's not a Rhodes piano, but something in between there. Sometimes you just listen to your loops and you think like, hey, there's not space to add anything. But in between different chords like that, there is a little bit of space. Adding something small like boop-a-dum-dum-dum could take the entire thing to a different level, and you showed a great example of that. Boom bap, boom clap, my bad. Boom clap, this is great. And emotionally, this one speaks to me perfectly. The sadness, but still a little bit of hopefulness, you know, the beauty of melancholy. And the early snare, you know, you kind of did it all. The bird sound was perfect. Yes, it was. That one too. Someone saying jazzy in the best way. Yeah, for sure. I mean, jazz could be too intricate and too like complicated. In this, it's just the vibe of jazz, together with the drum programming of hip hop and whatever. Yeah. That's the spirit I was on while making it. Cool. And that translated just fine, the whole emotional aspect of it. So good stuff. Boom clap, haven't you been featured at all before? Is that true? And someone else said that he's not the only one. Most fair, he's not the only one. I'm sorry. Stormborn Music, welcome back. I mean, isn't it kind of crazy though that we are now, I don't know if it's just because I'm this elitist kind of whatever guy, but we are getting beats on such a high level. Last episode we had a beat that was like way out of tune. We needed to address that. But in this case, most of the beats are just perfect, pretty much. My first one was featured, but not the next three. Okay. And that happens sometimes. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do things as random as possible. Sometimes people are just out of luck, you know? Now, let's see. Please remove my submission. I'm enjoying the show, but probably best to ignore my submission, as it's not hip-hop. It doesn't need to be. Who said that it needs to be hip-hop? That's from House Jammers. I don't know. Are we just not... Okay. If you want me to ignore your submission, I'm going to ignore it. But I don't think you have to think like that. This is a forum for everyone, you know? Everything doesn't need to be hip-hop just because most of it is. Let's get into this one. DKMKD. I don't like this. DKMKD. 3 different audio files. And no message whatsoever? Nah, come on. I'm just going to take one. I'm going to pick the first one in the email that's called Soul with Stitches from DKMKD. So DKKMD. That's what it is. Let's go for this one. So this person sent me 3 different files, and this was one of them with 2 beats, I guess. Let's see the switch up here. That's really creative to do that sort of switch up in between and then going from one thing to the next. Good stuff. I mean, the quality today. The quality. A lot of people are having opinions in the chat, so let me just fill in. I also like the second one better than the first one. The first one. The second one. You know, the first one is more like sped up and more energetic. The second one is more laid back and whatever. But the thing that kind of goes for both of them is that there's a lot of what I feel is shenanigans going on in the lower frequencies. Someone like me likes like the low frequencies, the base of it all to be somewhat concise. You know, I like myself personally, like subjective opinions here. I like a bass line to be nice and clear. You know, you do need to filter out some of the low frequencies sometimes when you work with samples to clean things up, and I appreciate that. In this case, it's cool that it creates this kind of chaos of stuff, but to me, like the entire low register becomes a little bit too busy and muddy. And in the secondary version too, there's a more obvious bass line with some melodic values and stuff, but there's also other stuff just rumbling around down there. Sometimes I have a little bit of an issue with that stuff myself, but it's not a big thing, I guess. But sometimes when you listen to stuff like that on big speakers, you need like the frequency ranges to be somewhat clean. You need to have somewhat of a distance between one thing and the next. In this case, it becomes a little bit everything from like 200 hertz and down is messy. Not bad, but I can't avoid but focusing on that, you know. Maybe he did that intentionally. Maybe so. I think I would hope so. But to me, in my taste, I kind of don't love that. But the production is solid. The snare drum in the second version here, that's a cool choice. Someone said anything. Someone said anything. That's proper English right there. Someone said something that I think I should have read. Nate G, I think the first sample sounded too saturated compared to the drums, but could just be me. I think I agree. The mix is a little bit messed up. It feels like the sample track is over compressed, so we're getting more stuff. More stuff in the sample. We're hearing more stuff in the sample than we necessarily need to, you know? Still, fire stuff. I mean, getting 2 beats like that and that interesting, creative kind of switch up. Chef's kiss. I salute you, for sure. Now, let's move along and see if we have something cool. We have something from Andreola, Nigel, Story. You know, it becomes, you have one name in the name box and then you write something else. Starry Night Media or Nigel. Greetings, Accurate Beats. Moving Up is my attempt at creating a big band style beat. I'll throw in some Takio drums in the middle for fun. Thanks for the live stream. Have a wonderful day. Nigel. What does that even mean? This is my attempt at creating a big band style beat. Sampling big band is a challenge. If that's what you did, I'm just curious to see how it turned out. It's 1 minute long, so let's focus.
Moving up, let's go. Moving up, let's go.
Wow.
Moving up, let's go. Moving up, let's go.
Jesus. 1 minute long, so I played it twice. Want to fight about it? I mean, this is so different. So interesting and so cool and so fun, but so different. Sampling big band in general is difficult. You did something really cool with this idea. Would I think it was even cooler if instead of the drums, like the synthetic kind of hand clap thing, if you had like a proper hard-hitting chopped up drum break? I think that would kind of make me more appealed to it from my personal taste. But production-wise, this is cool. This is so cool. So many different things and ideas slammed into one. And the only thing I'm thinking here is like, hey, give the listener a little bit of time to settle down and focus on something. So one of the sections could definitely be looped up and dragged out. It's cool with variation and whenever things happen, but as a person who hears this for the first time, it's hard to find a solid kind of structure, which we are kind of used to as beat makers. Structure and repetition and loops, it's kind of what we go to. So that you did something different is fun and interesting and cool. But as a first-time listener, I think it would be easier to appreciate everything cool that happened with a little bit more air in there. A little bit more space left in the arrangement. But it's really cool. And it sounds really good. I mean, using samples like that could be overwhelming because there's so many things going on, so many instruments and everything. But it's cool. This is definitely something different in a positive way. I'm not hating on this. And this one came in. Now I received a text message. Okay, that's from a different person who can go. Whatever. Nigel, who is in the chat. What are you saying about this yourself? What are you saying about your production? There, that's the window. Oh, this could fit into a car commercial. That makes sense. That makes sense. It took some balls. Yeah, it does. Working with samples like that is definitely a challenge. You did it in a really cool way. The stylistic choice could be switched up, I think, adding different kind of drums, but I don't know. It took a lot of programming with control lanes. I'm happy that you like it. Thank you for the review. Thank you, Nigel. Submitting something like this is definitely cool. Really appreciate it, and having something that's this far from the ordinary stuff that we're getting is great. I sang the vocals. Okay, I'm not supposed to say what I think about that. The vocals in the beginning. That's a choice.
Moving up, let's go. Moving up, let's go.
That little figure, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Props for going somewhere else. Yeah, 100%. Someone who does something that's a little bit out of the ordinary like that is, he deserves to be praised for it. That's nice. Now let's see if we can take this one right here from Juan. Hey, what's up? J E I P I. J Pi. Argentinian living in BCN. One love to you and all the chat. Just tuned in a while ago. Sending this beat. I guess it's not the best mixing of the snare drum. Actually, I just structure stuff along with my MPC-1 on the go and resample it on the SP. Hope you like the vibes. Good one. I don't know why I struggled reading that one so hard, but I did. But I got all the words out there. Let's play this track from JP. Oh, now my computer just decided to go full ass on me. Let's play the track. Okay, cool. So that's about 2 minutes and 20 seconds of it. You know, being my kind of generation, someone said something about the X-Files in the chat, and people seem to know what this sample is. I mean, it sounds like the X-Files, or Arkiv X, as it used to be called in Swedish. The X-Files, super cool. This sample, really cool. It's a nice way of using something like that, like leaving this mysterious kind of vibe in there, adding a little bit of darkness, those drums that feels like Massive Attack-esque. Not bad at all. Maybe a little bit repetitive because it goes from one thing to the next, but there's so many things going on with the notes and the atmosphere of the sample, so I think you're getting away with it just fine. I had something. Yeah, first of all, this is one of those really quiet mixes, so I had to crank the volume to the absolute max and above it, and that's not the end of the world. But what I think is cool here, just in terms of the creative choices of producing this, not using a hi-hat or a shaker or anything, but going with a ride cymbal. We don't hear that a lot, and ride cymbals are underrated as fuck. And that kind of syncopated dun 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 dun, that worked really well. Nice and atmospheric, beautiful, lush, really cool. Is there space to add something more? Yes, I think there is. Could it be left like this, kind of minimalistic and just vibey? It could. Could you take this to yet another level by adding something else at some point? I think you could. But if you wanted to make something that's like really well fitting for a movie scene, this is perfect. A lot of reverb, a lot of ambience. That's nice. Maybe scratch. Yes. Yes. Flow 36, you're onto something. For sure. Scratch on this one. Boom. And a bass line. Maybe. But also, I mean, sometimes I do that myself too. I just think, we need a bass line. Maybe we don't in this case, because in terms of the frequencies, we have a lot of stuff down there. Adding a bass line, I'm not sure. Okay, you need a bass line. My bad. You do need a bass line. Didn't pick up on that. But yeah, you need a bass line. Argentinian living in Juan. Cool. No, JP. G-E-I-P-I. Thanks a lot for the submission. Gave us a little bit of breathing space and just catching my breath. Relaxing. Beautiful stuff. So it's now 10:05 and I'm supposed to stop at 10. I'm not doing this for 3.5 hours, but maybe 15 more minutes, maybe a few more tracks, just because. And the name that sticks out here is Atmosphere 305. Because you're also the one who said something about not being played, right? What's up with the chat? Okay, my bad. That was actually the YouTube window that refreshes, so every single chat just came in. But that's not the live chat. That's the live chat. Jesus. We had Atmosphere, right? Atmosphere 305. No text, nothing, just an MP3 file. The track is called The Tale of Juanco Sancho. I do not know what that means, but Let's play this beat from Atmosphere. Not Atmosphere like the group with Ant and Slug, but Atmosphere with a whatever, Atmosphere. Who used to be in the chat, I don't know if you're still here, but we're gonna play your beat right now. Sorry, that was way too loud. Let's crank. What? Okay.
Atmosphere.
Okay, and then we have. Okay. Man, that was a trip for sure. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to explain exactly what it is with something that feels so attractive. So it pulls you right in, and it just, oof. This was one of them. Someone pointed out the snare drum, and yeah, for sure, that one, The sound of the snare drum, the swing of the rhythm, the different sections with the Spanish kind of guitar thing. And that's why I played the entire thing, because I felt like you're going to combine these two different ideas. You are. You're going to combine the string part and the guitar part into one. And you did at the end, which makes sense, because if you did that earlier on, it would be too much, you know? But this one is fire. And that part, Normally, I would say that I would love the drums to be louder, but in this, no, I don't think so. Sound selection is on point from that tune. And yeah, couldn't agree more. The sound selection here are so nice. And it strikes this balance between major and minor in a way that's so hitting, so attractive. I mean, music is art and aesthetics and all that. And in this case, it's whew. And that secondary like bass line, oh man. The more it plays, the more you find, yes, it's one of those tracks. It's really involved. Damn. Atmosphere. Big up. Great work. Great work by Atmosphere right there. Whew. Everyone says just the most positive things in the chat room too. So I'm not wrong. That's good to know sometimes. Sometimes I need a little bit of a reality check too. Am I wrong here? This was good stuff. Good stuff. The arrangement was strong too. Thank you. And you sent it twice. Okay. And that's the text. I made this with my MPC 1 Plus. Okay, cool. You know, that amount of sample chopping in a track like that is just impressive. Making it sound that good. Yeah, I'm a fan. That's good stuff. Let's get into this one from Michael. Yeah, Michael Baumeister. High accurate, high community. The drums for this one was made on the Digitact 1 with processing through the analog heat and were recorded straight into the DAW. The other instruments, reel and plugins were added in the DAW. Okay, so an Electron user. Analog heat, Digitact 1. Cool. And just to be clear, I'm going to play this one and one more. So this is the second to the last track for today. Michael Baumeister. Here we go. I think. Okay, you know what, guys? It's already been 2.5 minutes of this. Normally I try to play 2 minutes, maybe something more, and this track is 5.5 minutes in total. We played 2.5. I'm gonna just skip ahead to 4, 13. It goes on like that, and that's kind of cool. So normally we talk about beats, like production-wise, loops and like heavy drums and a lot of whatever, and sometimes with a lot of atmosphere and stuff. This feels like movie music to me, or maybe video game music, like playing an old school FPS game between the different fights and whatever. Quake 2. And it's nice. This is high quality music for sure, but it's a bit different to digest than your normal like beats, you know? Outro type of beat. Yeah, it is. It feels like an outro. It feels like something has ended. I think this is nice and beautiful and cool, but there are things going on that just pulls me straight out of it. There are some stuff going on in the really, really high frequencies. Sometimes it's like a hi-hat thing, like a rhythmical thing over here. And then that filter sweep, a little bit too much resonance. So it kind of hurts to listen to. In parts of it. Not the entire thing. The entire thing is beautiful, and I think you kind of need to listen to this one in its entirety for 5.5 minutes to really appreciate the entire scope of it. In this case, we're not. So I'm just pointing out a few things in the higher frequencies that bugs me. And the really, really electronic drums works with this kind of aesthetic and this kind of style of music. It does. You know, a bunch of different arpeggios and some different counter melodies and stuff going on makes the entire composition fun and interesting. Benji says my headphones are bright, so it sounds way too bright on them. Yeah, and mine are not. Mine are pretty balanced. Pretty. And some of the highs are still cutting through in a way that's not comfortable. Nigel says the opposite. The high frequencies sounds just right to me. My desktop speakers are a bit old and soft, so I might not be hearing them as loud as others. I think it's a little bit of a problem with this one. Just, take some of that stuff down, and it's going to be easier to listen to. Other than that, I mean, the soundscape that goes on here and the vibe and this whole... It's a great balance between like short sound and more like sustained notes in a way that becomes balanced and nuanced and beautiful. This is cool stuff. And he calls it chill hop. That's not what I would say, but still, it's chill and it's kind of hoppy, so maybe. And resonating bells and everything. Generally, it's a nice... Made so well says, generally it's nice though. For sure, this is high quality stuff. I think for what I'm doing here on this kind of show, it's not fair. Because this one needs to be enjoyed in its entirety as the music for a movie or something. Still, a great piece of music, and I really appreciate getting that kind of stuff sent in here too. It doesn't always need to be boom bappy, hip hoppy, lo-fi kind of beats. Not at all. This goes just fine. Just that I feel kind of uncomfortable because I know that I'm not representing this piece of art in the way it should be consumed. But, So, what bugs me here is that I have still too many beats left to be played. And I'm not going to cover more than one more. That's just what we do here. So let's go for Brick Castle Beats, who says, nothing to write home about. Put some ingredients in the frying pan, and this is what came out. I rarely catch the live stream due to my time zone, but I always watch it after work. Fun to see what everyone is doing. Peace. Okay, that's cool. Last week I wanted everyone who was featured to be on stream. Not this time around. That's not fair. So this time around we have Brick Castle Beats, who is probably not here with us, but we're gonna listen to his music and talk about it. This is the last track for today, so let's go.
Growth is found in resistance. Strength is built in struggle. Mastery is born from repetition. And greatness? Greatness comes to the man who is willing to bury his former self without ceremony. So, Brick Castle Beats with some wonky drums. Totally swinged out. And that's cool. I don't hate on that. And this was a good, solid kind of production. Like a nice little beat. You said it yourself, not much to write home about. And I think you're wrong. This is good. I would have balanced this differently, like the entire piano arpeggio thing. I think that should be louder and more like in your face with the drums. Maybe a little bit of side chaining, I don't know. And I want more of the... Oh, sorry. And I want more of the bass line here. The bass notes you're using fits perfectly and they really do a job. You know, they do some heavy lifting. I want some more of those bass notes, for sure. Maybe not a proper kind of melodic bass line, I don't know about that, but just these, I need more of them. But using drums like that, like the totally swinged out and super funky, that's cool. That adds something just in itself. But, you know, sometimes you just need a little bit more than cool drums. Growth is found in greatness comes.
But the main thing here, more bass. Or should I say, like, less parts without the bass? Because whenever the bass drops out, I feel like there's something missing. Because there's not so many layers of stuff. We've also had a lot of beats today with a bunch of layers and a bunch of intricate kind of melodies and parts that goes together sometimes and sometimes not. We've had a lot of flutes today, a lot of flute melodies. Good in most cases. This is good, but it doesn't feel finished and it feels like you need more bass notes. What happens if you don't play submitted beats? I don't understand that question. What happens if you don't play submitted beats? Do you play them next time? Okay, no. I did that a few times in the beginning, and then it felt kind of crazy because the way this is set up right now, I'm doing this every other week. So in that case, I would take all the tracks that's left in the inbox and saving them to the next show 2 weeks from now. And then there's no space for new tracks, and then we're just playing older stuff. Not sure if I love that kind of idea. But I want to be transparent about this. Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No, 13, 14. Okay. The honest truth is that we still have 15 beats to play. So far we have played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we played 18 and we still have 15 to go. 18 in a 2-hour show is more, 2.5 hour is more than I normally do. Normally I get to like 12, 13, maybe less. This time around 18 because I'm trying to speed things up. Which is, I think it's better for everyone. But I still want this to be a concept where we talk about the music, give a little bit of feedback, share some thoughts about them. So it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not just beat after beat after beat. We're going to take breaks and talk about them. But I've tried to speed things up, and I think I did a great job, actually. 18 in 2 hours and 20 minutes is better than normal. But the plan is not to play tracks from this week's submission on the next show. Because... and then we have people like Tamashi saying that my track is just 30 seconds long. Maybe play a quick one. And that's a slippery slope, That's a slippery slope. Then I'll play that one and talk about it for 2 minutes, and then we have another one. I think this is, we gotta set the bar somewhere. We gotta say no. Everyone needs limitations. Pace is perfection. Thank you. I really tried this time around to not be overwhelmingly slow on the feedback part. So, as I said, that was the last track for today, and I do feel for you guys. I really do. Please understand that. I do feel for the 18 of you who submitted a beat and hasn't been played. It's not great. This is not a perfect system, but I can't figure out a better way to do this. I used to do this in a different way where you had to submit the beat as we went live on my website with this whole thing. And that felt unfair because everyone didn't have the internet speed to do that. Now, having 24 hours to submit beats, I'm going to get more beats than I'm going to be able to play. So if anyone has a proper idea of how to do this, and a suggestion is not for me to go through the beats in beforehand and pick and choose. It takes too long and it's too unfair. "18 tracks reviewed is impressive." Some good comments in the chat too. "It is entertaining and helpful." Thank you. That's the entire purpose of this. Thank you. I've seen other streams with pay to skip to front. I've seen other review streams with pay to skip to front of the line. I know. A lot of people do that. I'm never going to do that. I don't want you guys to pay for this. That's ridiculous. For real. That's no, I can't do that. Or having members being prioritized over anyone else. No. I'm not a capitalist. I'm not. That just, never. I know a lot of people do it. It's not my style. It's not what we're about. Guys, last time I got played was the 11th of August, and that's fine. I understand I won't get a track played every single stream, not even every every other stream. It'll happen when it happens. Ethan with the patience. I appreciate that. And please, I mean, if anyone has any solid ideas, hit me up on Instagram or Discord or whatever and just give me a little bit of feedback, because I'm trying to do this as good as I can. I really am. Pay with support and super chats. If you want to pay me for what I do, please do. I really appreciate that. But that's not going to allow you to skip the line. Everyone can't afford stuff like that, and I don't think it's worth it. I think to me, it doesn't make sense to ask you guys for payment to be featured on this shit. No. Can you have a minimum line then, like 20? I could. But if I had a minimum, would I take the first 20 that comes in? I don't know. Or how should I like quantify that? I don't understand. We are only channel members because he threatened our families. Yeah, but that's besides the point. Pay to play, fuck that. Yeah, for sure. Never gonna happen. Okay, Nate G. Should the people that never got played automatically be bumped to the front? Yes, I think they should. If we could develop that kind of system, I think they should. If I had this massive list of who has been featured, how many times and whatever, to keep track on that and then allow people who hasn't been featured to be featured, I think that makes sense. But it's hard. I can't really see how to develop that kind of system. Maybe using AI, I don't know. But then, some people really wants to be on here, and then they just create a secondary email, and then it's out the window. But sure, I mean, I'm trying to pick up on whenever someone in the chat says like, hey, I've submitted a few times and I haven't been played, I try to pick up on that and choose them sometimes. But yeah. That's a good idea. To have people prioritize that hasn't been played, yes, that would be great. But I don't know how. I really don't know how. But some of you seem to be fine with the system too, and I like that. If you have any like solid suggestions, please reach out off stream, and I'm willing to listen to ideas. For sure. But for now, this is what it is. It's time for me to leave. We've been live for 2.5 hours, a little bit more even. And I'm not playing any more beats, even if it would make sense. Sure, I understand what you're coming from. But hey, if we keep doing this at this level and we're getting so many submissions, maybe I'm going back to doing this every week, every single Monday night. Who knows? Maybe that's going to happen. However, thanks a lot for hanging out tonight, guys. Thanks a lot for submitting all these fantastic pieces of music. And a part of me right now, I would love to be able to just say, we had music from Geno Beats, we had something from Defe, Splinatra, Ashen Barky, we had Lax22, but I can't because the way people name their tracks and their stuff doesn't really align with everything. But yeah, I appreciate this, and I think it's fun, and I think it's cool, and we're going to continue this every other week for now. Maybe every week later on. I'm not promising anything. I'm just having too much fun. Thanks a lot, guys, and I love to see you guys in the next episode in 2 weeks. Until then, I'm sure I'm going to post videos. Peace out. Good night. End broadcast or stop streaming. I have 2 different buttons here. One says stop streaming and one says end broadcast. So I don't know. I'm going to click one of them and see what happens. Peace out, guys. Thanks again.